If you're anything like me, you've been watching all the downwinding content on the internet at the moment and just absolutely frothing, wishing you could be a part of the action. That is exactly what sent me down the rabbit hole of trying to learn this new foiling discipline. Similar to me, you probably look at it and think, that looks impossible. But also at the same time, your ego is saying, I could probably do that. Over the last 9 episodes of this series, I've been pushing as hard as I can to get up on the foil, and I finally did it. Took about 6 or 7 sessions of paddling around and a couple sessions at the start on the wingboard with the foil that I was going to downwind on and winging on the board that I was going to downwind on as well. The reason for this video today is I want to give you all of the shortcuts possible so that you can get up on the foil and start the downwinding fun a lot faster than what I did. So as you dive into the learning process, you're going to face challenges. Balance on the board feels really foreign relative to the boards that you've probably used in the past. The bigger foils feel like they have a mind of their own. And being out in the water with just a paddle and a board can be a little bit intimidating. But don't worry, I've been there and I've discovered some game-changing tricks to shortcut your journey to getting on the foil. Going to break down the process step by step and make sure you hang around for the end because there is a few key details that I'll summarize at the end that will get you on foil sooner. So kicking it off with step 1, you need to choose the right gear. I've done the hard yards and I can tell you that using a 7'4", 110 litre board with the 7Cs 1500 foil worked for me, and it was achievable, but I would have got to my first major milestone of getting up on the foil in the bumps a lot sooner with a board that was closer to 8 foot long and a foil that had an aspect ratio around 10 to 12. Basically, you're looking for any area of efficiency whilst at the same time maintaining stability and a slow enough foil speed that you'll be able to paddle up whilst your technique isn't perfect. Okay, so you've got the right gear. Now it's time to understand your foil. There's a lot of people jumping into downwinding, coming from winging. You're used to smaller foils, whether that's something around the 800 square centimeter, 900 square centimeter, all the way down to something around 550 square centimeters. And the big foils are different. I highly recommend that your first session is trying to get used to your downwind setup with some element of familiarity. So whether that is going out winging and just taking your downwind setup winging, or towing behind a boat or foil driving, depending on what discipline you've come from. Or if you're starting from scratch, I'd recommend towing behind the boat. And the goal of this first session is to be using minimal assistance from whatever your method that you choose, whilst trying to understand how your foil pumps through the water and even that early stage of pumping the board when it's still in the water before it gets up onto the foil. So if you're using the wing, you'll have the wing overhead, giving you that little bit of movement forward, sort of emulating the same speed that you'll be able to put through the water with your paddle, but really trying to keep it as minimal as possible and practicing that pumping motion to get the board up onto the foil. Okay, after you understand the foil, the next step is to get out in some flat water and understand the paddle. At the same time, you'll be understanding how the board balances in the water and the interplay between having your paddle planted and your balance works together. In these first few sessions, your paddling technique is not going to be very good. One of the really important things you should try and do is get someone to film you from the side so you can have a few attempts and then come home, have a look at the footage and understand where your technique is at and where it needs to get to. And that links really well with my next tip, which is perfecting your paddle technique. I got some awesome tips from Tom Saunders and by extension, the Coach Casey Club. Getting guidance on proper technique was an absolute game changer for me. And I highly recommend seeking similar expert advice. I'll chuck the link for the Coach Casey Club in the description like I've done in some of my previous videos. Essentially, you want to stop bad habits as early on as possible. In this phase where you're purely working on your paddling technique and sort of doing some flat water paddle up practice, but understanding that it's not necessarily something that's going to be achievable before you've actually gotten the bumps and downwinded either. It's really important to remember what your capacity is and understanding that potentially your best attempts at getting on the foil are going to be within the first 15 to 20 minutes that you're out in the water. And then understanding that it's sort of diminishing returns as you get tired. So it's really important to pull the pin on your session at a good point. I think this is something that will keep you motivated to learning downwind paddling. It'll prevent you from getting any injuries from learning something new and overloading muscles that are different to what you've used for other sports. You've got the right gear, you've learnt your foil, you've got your balance on your board, and you've learnt your paddling technique. Now it's just the important time of getting out in the bumps and giving it a go. These sessions to start with are going to look like, depending on what conditions you have available, but somewhere from the 15 knot to 25 knot sort of wind range. Ideally cross shore if you don't have the option of someone to pick you up at the end of your run. So this is what I did. I tried to find cross shore conditions and I just paddle for as far as I could be bothered and then turn, paddle into shore, walk back upwind and go again if I had the energy to. What you should avoid and what I didn't avoid was going out when it was onshore, paddling into the wind, just absolute pain. If you are absolutely desperate and it's the only conditions you've got, then go for it. But just remember that the session's probably going to be quite a lot shorter than if you were able to either get a shuttle back upwind or if you were able to walk along the beach and sort of do laps that way. So after linking all these steps together, you'll be at a point where you can get up on the foil. For me, it was about 9 sessions to paddle onto foil. But here's the exciting part. By following the shortcuts that I've outlined, you'll be foiling soon as you'll avoid the sessions that I wasted going down the wrong path. So as promised in the intro, the key details to remember along the way are a board around 8 foot and a foil with aspect ratio of 10 to 12. Next, you want to learn to use your foil and put pressure through your board using an external power source, wing, foil drive, or tow behind the boat. After that, you want to practice your flat water paddling, get expert advice, film yourself so that you can kill bad habits early on so that you will learn efficient technique, which will just pay dividends in the long run. And finally, get in the bumps with a shuttle or worst case, cross shore and being in a situation where you can walk back upwind because you want to save your energy for your downwinding attempts, your paddle up attempts. You don't want to be wasting it paddling upwind. Make sure you screenshot this now so that you have all these tips ready to go to start your downwinding journey. With that, I want to give a big shout out to OTB Foil Sports for making my downwinding journey possible. They are absolute legends, supplied me with all the gear that I needed to get foiling and have helped me out to make all these videos. So if you're about to start your downwinding journey, head to their website. I've got my discount code 10% off. Put the code in WINGWIZ, 10% off anything on the website. So if you want to get into your downwinding, continue or start your wing foiling journey, jump over there. And if you are going to start your wing foiling journey, downwinding journey, or wanting to get better at any of these things, go watch some of my other videos. I've got my full learning process over the last 9 sessions up on my channel for downwinding, and I've got a bunch of tutorials and examples and session videos, everything for winging. I'm going to be making more of that soon as well, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. And that's it for me. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.